to the Raise Your Energy podcast. My name is Linda Lange and I'm your host and energy expert. Time. Such a hot topic all the time, isn't it? For sure, this is going to be the episode about time. So how we think about time, how we act around time, and how we feel about time. And you don't need another time management tool. No, you don't. You need to shift your perspective of what time actually means to you. And so do I. So let's do it together. Stay tuned. Where to even start when we talk about time, right? Let's take a bit of a helicopter view on some stereotypical thoughts, behaviors, and feelings that we have about time. Let me introduce you to my favorite 5 statements about time and what I actually think about them. Let's start with that, okay? Number 1, I don't have time. So my comment to that would be, you are correct. You don't have time because time does not belong to you. Time is a construct to make sense and describe how we move through space in this dimension. If we want to go from A, where we're currently standing, to B, let's say outside in the garden, then we have to drag our body from inside of the house to outside in the garden. Does that make sense? That's what time is. It's a construct. Second statement is time is precious. Well, it depends probably what you actually do with it. I don't think you will find your time very precious if you're sitting at an airport and you have just been informed that your plane is 4 hours delayed. So, as Albert Einstein says, time is relative, and so is a statement of time is precious. Okay, over to number 3. Time is money. Okay, so 2 sides for me on that statement. Time is money. On the one side, I do agree with it if you're taking the saying, the statement, literal. And if you're taking it seriously, for example, in the context of business, your income and profit. But a lot of people use this phrase, for example, to hurry you up. So let's say, as an example, there is a dad and he's just trying to get his kids to get quicker into the car so he can go and be on the road. And he's saying, come on, get in the car. Time is money. In that case, I'm just asking myself, and what is that supposed to mean? And what are the kids supposed to take from that statement? Time is money? Anyway, that's just my 2 cents to that one. Over to number 4. It's about time. There you go. Again, one of these very relative phrases. For example, it's starting to get warmer outside. And you might say, oh, it's about time that the summer comes and that it gets warmer. Now, me over here is saying, well, inside of my head, of course, well, actually, I don't like it too hot. So I'd rather it to stay a little bit more longer spring. So I don't agree with your statement. You see what I did there? So it's all very relative. And just because you think it's about time for something to happen does not mean it is for the other person. So just think about that the next time you catch yourself saying it's about time. And over to the 5th. Probably one of my most favorite is actually not a phrase, but the word or the expression of time management. So think about this. It does not even make any sense. You cannot manage time. Time is what it is, and it cannot be managed to be longer or shorter, to be quicker or prolonged, to be up or down. What you're saying when you talk about time management is rather the management of that activity that you're currently spending your time in. So that could be, for example, your work, or it could be your work-life balance. So then just call it work management or work-life balance management. It's not time because you're just not managing time. Does that make sense? Great. So why did I start with looking at these statements and sharing my opinions on them? I wanted to shake up a little bit your way of thinking about time. I wanted you to see how many phrases there are out there and how much we actually use the word time in our everyday life without us probably not even realizing it. That can actually already be our number one problem with time, because we are thinking in not the best way about time. So time in itself might not be the issue, but how we think about it. Let me give you an example of something that I literally experienced last week. So, spoiler alert, I still have a lot of work to do when it comes to time. So this episode is a fantastic exercise even for myself. So the other week, I caught myself stressing about time because I still needed to get a really important task done on that day, and I did not even started it yet. I was very conscious of what time in the day it already was, and I created this feeling of scarcity around time, that there was just not enough time to still get it done on that day. And at the end of the day, I would have had this experience that time has just run like sand through my fingers. And all of this was created just in my head. But when I reflected on that, when I caught myself having this kind of experience, these thoughts and the feelings that come with it, I said, well, but that's not the experience I have every day. So how do I usually feel? So the opposite of that example would be that I get my most important task done by, let's say, 10 o'clock in the morning, and I just feel really relaxed and accomplished. I don't feel the same pressure as in the other example, and I just go into the day, into the rest of the day, and just get things done. I go about my task, and at the end of the day, I will feel actually really accomplished and like this was a really great day and I was very productive. So both of these days are exactly the same when it comes to time. The difference was how I thought about time in that day. In my first example, I looked through the lens of scarcity of time, time pressure, and feelings of stress. And all of that was created in my mind. I did not have less or more time in that day than I have on other days. It is my doing that I felt not as great at the end of my day in that first situation because I created this pressure and that stress around my day and my time. Do you see that I created my reality about time through my thoughts and my perspective alone? I even discovered a program when I went through that experience that is in my subconscious. And that program is called, if you have not got your big project done by now, you're probably not going to get it done for the rest of the day. This is a literal program inside of me that just starts running as soon as I get around lunchtime and I'm evaluating of what I got already done and what I still have to do, and I start to feel stressed and I get all of these thoughts. So this program starts running. And it's crazy because I still have over half of my day to go. Anyway, So then what happened when we start having thoughts like that? How do we act? Well, because we are already now in this stressful mode, in this survival mode, we get less organized, or we might procrastinate, or we are looking at different tasks, maybe something easier to do to relieve all of that stress and that anxiety inside of us. But of course, that is not going to help us in any kind of way. Rather the opposite. So when we have limiting thoughts about our time, we start acting in a way that is supporting these thoughts, right? Which is just not helpful whatsoever. And what is coming next? After we're having already these thoughts and we're acting already in not the most productive way, wow, that's when the feelings come in. They are the result of the thoughts and the experiences we just had. And we start to feel pressured. Our stress increases. We feel rushed and we start making even more mistakes. We feel like we're becoming a bit moody and maybe we even snap at somebody. And of course, later on, we're going to regret it. So these feelings of pressure and stress and overwhelm and helplessness will just create more negative thoughts again inside of our mind. And we find ourselves in this spiral in our inner world because time has not really changed. It is still exactly what it was the day before and what it's going to be for everybody on that day. We just created this scenario by ourselves inside of us that makes us perceive that we don't have enough time and that we are running out of time. Crazy, right? And I get it. I just said that this example literally happened to me last week. So I find myself in these scenarios as well, but it does not help me one little bit. It is so unproductive. It is literally counterproductive. Getting myself into that cycle of thinking and feeling and feeling and thinking makes me waste my energy. It lowers my vibration and my frequency to a level where I'm less productive. And it gives my body a lot of negative emotions to deal with. And just because I made up this story in my mind about time, there you go. That's what happened to me last week. And I bet you can resonate with me a little bit. I bet you have some scenarios where you felt exactly that. So my advice is to shift your mindset about time, change your perspective and how you think about time, how you act about time, and actually as well how you feel about time. If you are in a place where you are rushing through your life, you feel like you never have enough time to get all of your tasks done, and you never have enough time to actually do the things that you love, please do not believe that you need another time management tool. You don't. You want a reset of how you think about time. Start to think differently about time and don't take time so personally. Time is not out to get you. It's not there to piss you off and it's not there to upset you. It really isn't. If you feel like that, then it is just because you are creating this story in your mind. So say to yourself, stop it. Okay? I know you will tell me now that you don't have the time to do this, but I'm going to tell you to sit yourself down and write down all of the thoughts you have about time. Go back into your history. Think about the statements that you were told about time in your childhood and go back from your childhood all the way to this moment and write every thought down, every belief, every statement that you know you have in your life. Write them all down and look at them for the first time in your life. And you might realize that you are creating your problem about time all by yourself. And while you're at writing it all down, how about you take another page and you're actually going to write down the thoughts that you want to have about time. If you want to let go of some of these old thoughts, statements, and beliefs about time, let's replace them with some good ones. So I'm actually going to do this now. I'm going to write down, or I have written down already, a few statements that I rather want to have about time. There is always enough time. I have all the time in the world to get this done. Time is on my side. My time is now. Looking back at these statements, I just realized that they are probably similarly inaccurate as the statements that I made at the beginning of this episode. But you know what? I don't care. They make me feel good and they change and help me with my mindset about time. And that's what it's all about. Do you not just want to feel like you have more time and that time is on your side? So create some new thoughts about time. Replace them with the other ones. Kick out the old statements that just don't serve you anymore. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed this episode and I hope you're getting something out of it. And if you thought you would get some time management tools by listening to this episode, I am so sorry. But if you're still listening now, then I think you probably got what you needed anyway. So thank you again for listening. And with that, I love you. And I leave you. Talk soon and bye-bye.